The reading aloud, that was George's thing. It went on for years, long after I reached an age when I could read to myself, and Little Women was one of our private jokes, George protesting feebly that no male should ever be expected to read Little Women, and me insisting that Little Women was the greatest book ever written, that no literary education, male or female, was complete without it. Helen never did understand those idiotic private jokes of ours. I can remember her standing there in the doorway, with her face wrinkled in an irritable smile while I lay on my bed giggling, and George read solemnly through Little Women, word by word, each phrase articulated with the uncertain accent of someone reading aloud in a language he doesn't really understand. Oh, well, I guess it doesn't sound funny. Private jokes never do when you try to explain them. And poor Helen, standing there with that puzzled half-smile, trying to figure it all out. She wasn't trying to smile that afternoon before Christmas. I wondered disloyally if Helen realized how much older she looked with that tight plaster mask of resentment. Helen doesn't like being old. She isn't really. As she is fond of pointing out, I was born when she was only 18, and she spends a lot of time and money trying to look 10 years less than her real age. More time and money lately, with her 40th birthday coming up. I don't know why women flip over being 40. I won't mind, especially if I can look like Helen, tall, slim, with a head of reddish blonde hair that shines like the shampoo ads on TV. She has beautiful legs, and she wears the right clothes. Of course she gets them at a discount. She's head buyer at the biggest department store in town, and she looks the part. "What do you mean, no presents?" she asked sharply. "I'd hate to tell you how near I am to being overdrawn." I meant I was thinking of the toys you used to get me for Christmas, the dolls and the beautiful clothes for them, the cute little dollhouse furniture from Germany and Denmark. When I was that age, I never considered clothes real presents. Not like dolls or books. But I didn't say that. George was the one who gave me the books. My diversion worked, but as Helen's face relaxed, I felt a little nauseated at myself. It was a reflex by now, keeping that look off Helen's face. When I was little, her speechless, white-lipped anger sent me into a panic. Kids learn quickly when they're afraid. I soon realized that the way to keep Helen smooth and smiling was never, ever to say anything that could remind her of George. But now there was something contemptible about my instinctive avoidance of unpleasantness. Surely, after all these years, she should have reached the stage of indifference. And surely I was old enough to learn the truth about my father. "That doll collection," Helen said reminiscently. "It's still in the attic, you know. I hadn't the heart to give it away." "Save it for your grandchildren." Helen gave me one of those maternal looks, the suspicious maternal look, not the sentimental one. "I hope there are none in the offing?" "Oh, Mother, for heaven's sake—" Helen laughed. "Sorry, darling, I guess I'm just an old-fashioned mum. That particular worry is completely out of style, isn't it? After all, I should be sure that you know how to take care of yourself." I looked away. Somehow I hated it when Mother got onto that subject. I suppose I should have been grateful for Helen's handling of the problem. I had been told, in dry, clinical language, all I needed to know, and Helen even made sure when I went off to college that I was supplied with the magic potions. The other girls envied me, but there was something about Helen's matter-of-fact briskness that repelled me. I remembered my blank astonishment after the talk, and my feeling, "Is that all there is?" It was not late in the afternoon, but the day was dark, pregnant with snow, and Helen had lit the lamps. Outside the window, the lawn lay hidden under a thick white blanket, and the pine trees were frosted along every branch. The bare branches of the big maples by the fence traced dark lines against the lighter sky, as formal and precise as a Chinese drawing. Beyond them were the lighted windows of the Wallsteins' house. There were 6 juvenile Wallsteins, and I fancied I could almost see the big old house vibrate with excitement. Christmas was only 2 days away. My eyes moved from the window to the room itself. It was a big, old-fashioned room which wore its modern furnishings rather awkwardly. The house was too big for the 2 of us, far too big for Helen, now that I was away most of the time. Yet she had refused to move after George left. You would have thought that since she hated all memories of him, she would not want to stay in the home they had shared. There was not a single object belonging to George in the house, not a stitch of clothing, not a picture, not a book. Perhaps the house represented Helen's triumph. She had survived without him, and she had obliterated him within the physical framework he had once dominated. It was not a pretty thought. I picked up my knitting in an effort to improve my mood. The soft blue wool slid through my fingers, and I began to relax. This was the second sleeve. The front and back were already done. I had meant to finish the sweater before I left school, but I hadn't succeeded. So Danny would get a belated Christmas present. I wasn't sure he would wear it. He might think the color too feminine. But it was the same vivid blue as his eyes. That was the reason I had chosen the wool. "I'm sorry your friend, Danny, couldn't spend Christmas with us," Helen said. "ESP," I said. "How did you know I was thinking about him?" "Logic, not ESP. Seeing you grinning foolishly at that knitting. I'm not that old, darling. I can remember a time when one young man or another filled all my waking thoughts." "You're purring," Helen said accusingly. "How serious is this boy, anyhow?" "Pretty serious." "You mean my fears about incipient grandchildren are not without foundation? And don't say, 'Oh, Mother.'" "You leave me speechless, then." "No, really." My hands slowed to a stop, but my eyes remained fixed on the knitting needles and their banner of blue wool. I wanted to talk seriously to Helen about Danny. Actually, I didn't want to talk about anything else but Danny. Yet in a perverse way, I didn't want to talk about him. I wanted to hug my feelings to myself, keep them safe and secret. I was afraid of laughter. "Well," I said slowly, "he mentioned getting married." I hadn't meant to put it that way. I felt my cheeks redden and braced myself for a smile or chuckle. "He's supposed to come and ask my consent," Helen said. "Oh, Mother." I looked up and met Helen's twinkling, cynical eye, and then we both laughed together. That kind of laughter I didn't mind. A wave of affection swept over me as I watched Helen's mouth curve and her hazel eyes narrow with amusement. She could be such fun when she wanted to be. "I certainly don't mean to rush you," Helen said, reaching for a cigarette. "I'll be honored if you so much as mention the date of the wedding to me. I guess these days I should be relieved that you even plan to marry, but I'd like to know more about Danny. You know everything important? That he's blonde, blue-eyed, handsome, and brilliant? All that is undoubtedly important, but there are other considerations." It was almost dark outside. The lighted windows of the Wallstein house shone bravely through the gray twilight, and small white flakes of snow drifted against the pane. "What is his full name?" Helen persisted. "You must have told me, but I've forgotten." "Linton. Daniel Cook Linton III. I took a deep breath. Might as well get it over with. "His mother has remarried to someone named Hoffman. He's a stockbroker or something in New York. Danny has a stepsister much younger than he, no other brothers or sisters. He really is brilliant. Professor Marks said his last paper—" "Hoffman." Helen took a deep drag on her cigarette. She was always trying to quit smoking and never succeeding. "The name sounds familiar." "Maybe you've seen it in the New York Times. His mother is some big deal in society." Helen blew out smoke. Her face was peaceful, but I wasn't fooled. Helen was thinking. "What is Mr. Daniel whatever III doing at a second-rate Cal college instead of one of the Ivy League schools?" "You would," I said. "You would think of that."